This is a topic I've talked about a number of times. I'm going to review it again because it's just come up recently in a training situation. So, which kind of bumper to use in training? So, in the old days, years ago, we pretty much didn't do drills, and most of the marks that we did were done with birds. Birds were easy to get and pretty cheap. Now birds aren't cheap. You can't, it's almost impossible to get pigeons, and ducks are $15 a piece. So I notice a lot of, especially amateurs, are using bumpers a lot in training, more than a long time ago. And so there's a certain mentality that says puppies are born being able to use their nose, so we have to teach them to use their eyes. So therefore we're going to use white bumpers so they can learn to use their eyes. I've thought about that, and I don't come up with the same conclusion. Yeah, they use their nose up until they're about 9 days old, and then they start to use their eyes. And proof of it is they don't bump into things all the time. If they were only using their nose, they'd walk funny. So I think they use their eyes and their nose. But the trick about marking and finding birds is using their nose. Yes, you can use your eyes, but if you threw a bird, let's say a mallard duck in tall cover, you're not going to see it with your eyes. You're going to find it with your nose. So my thought is that a great marker is a dog that, first of all dogs have great noses. But the difference between some dogs is their brains get the message from their nose, and it tells them the mark is right there. You've seen it many times where a dog goes out on a mark, he makes a good mark, he gets there, but he can't find it, and he starts swirling around. All of a sudden he's running all over the place and he doesn't find the mark. So the link between the nose and the brain, scent discrimination. So some dogs come out there and they make a good mark, boom, they've got it, because their nose says that's the bird. Some other dogs come out, oh, that's the bird. No, that's a feather. Oh, that's a bird from the dog before, whatever. So the scent discrimination is the thing that makes a great marker. Well, if a dog is only using his eyes and he's trying to find it visually, he is not going to do very well, especially in tall cover. So an orange bumper, when it's thrown and is on the mark, a dog has to smell it and recognize the fall in order to make the mark. On the other hand, there are dogs that probably need more confidence, or it's a certain mark and you want them to get the relationship of the gunner and where the bird fell. So sometimes you may want to use a white bumper. But I had an experience a number of years ago in Mobile, Alabama, before a trial, and I wanted to throw a few marks, and we had the only field we could find was grass about 1.6 inches tall. So if you threw a white bumper, you could see it laying out there all the way from the line. And so I said, well, let's use orange bumpers. At that time, I was throwing white bumpers for marks. So we threw orange bumpers. Dogs couldn't find them. On the bare ground, they were running all over in circles because they were just looking for white bumpers. They weren't marking, they weren't using their nose, and they weren't picking a spot and going there and saying, this is where the bird is. So I started at that time to use orange bumpers on marks. So they had to develop the skill of scent discrimination, seeing a mark, going there and then getting the relationship between the bumper, the nose, and the brain. So I'm not saying always use orange bumpers. I'm saying in a general sense, it's better to use an orange bumper so they learn this skill. If I have a dog that is sort of tentative and needs to develop more confidence, I might use a white bumper. Or if I want to teach a certain thing and I want them to see the relationship between the gunner, the shoreline, something like that, I might use a white bumper. So use birds would be my general conclusion on marks. But if you're a person that is going to use bumpers in a lot of your training, at least mix it up so they learn to use their nose, not just their eyes, as you would with a white bumper. One other thought, and it's just a little experiment that you could do. If you're a person that normally uses white bumpers, you could go out in a field with fairly short cover and use orange bumpers. I remember I've gotten dogs in training in the past that had been trained with a lot of white bumpers, and you throw an orange bumper and they can't find them because they're looking for something. They want to see something. They are not using their noses. And sometimes it takes a while before they start to try to find it with their eyes and their nose. Ultimately, that's what you want, eyes and nose. So they're just really searching to find the mark. And you know, marking is my favorite thing. See ya.